they never gave us a front page. They were always suspicious of us. Mark was the only guy there who really, went into bat for us.
Yeah, and then when you got like someone like Mark Beaumont who comes into bat for you, really likes you, obviously prolific writer at NME. Like how big an impact does that have?
I mean, it was massive for us. He'd been like him and John Earls as well, who previously used to be the guy who sort of did the reviews for Teletext. They'd kind of been fans of Contempo, and we'd done articles with Mark. I think it was for Melody Maker and stuff like that. Um, but he just got it, and you don't need the whole of the enemy to love you. You just need a couple of people to be on your side, and we were lucky that Mark was that guy, and he told us actually, he said, I gave the album 10 out of 10, but they wouldn't let me have it.
Oh,
They
really?
said, yeah, obviously you can only have 9.
I wonder if that was Connor's decision then, Connor McNicholas.
Yeah, possibly, possibly.
Because I
That,
saw
that,
you had
that,
a bit of a back and forth with him on Instagram because there was this thing. I think you did an interview with Luke Pritchard of the Kooks,
yeah,
maybe where he said like, NME could be a bit fickle maybe or something. Was
yeah,
that kind of the gist of it?
yeah. He was sort of saying, and I understood where he's coming from. He was saying, how he was sort of saying how they supported us, and I think he remembered it different to how I remembered it because they never gave us a front page. They were always suspicious of us. Mark was the only guy there who really, went into bat for us. Um, they did, they invited us to the NME Awards, but it was only ever to like, sort of show up. We never got nominated for any awards, nothing like that. Um, and some of the reviews were like, very a little bit condescending, and like the headline for our first live review was "Chav that," so it was like, okay, well, that's where we're going with this, is it? We're sort of like these oiks that, and then the first review they did post stars. I mean, the guy was just, I found it recently, I stumbled across it. The guy was just a complete cunt. I mean, he was sort of being genuinely rude about Kai, like for no reason. And also saying that all the people who were there to see us weren't people who normally went to gigs. They're all out of towners who'd come in. And it's like, who the fuck are you to judge who should rightfully be at a gig and who isn't? Like, how do you know if these people aren't every other week? Loads of my friends from around here are massive music fans and they are hardcore and they're into it. But he just assumes that if you're not sort of living in Camden, you weren't serious. And it was just all that sort of shit. And that's why when he was sort of sitting there, sort of saying, oh, we did all this for him. I was like, we didn't really, yeah. And the point I was trying to make was that despite all that, and they did, if it wouldn't, you really miss the enemy now, because if you had that one guy like Mark Beaumont batting for you, you stood a chance. And there's so much stuff at the moment now; it's very hard to cut through. But with that was like a kind of a focal point for everything. So I was saying that my point was that even though the enemy could be fickle, I'd still much rather have it around in the form it used to be, and being an important publication than not. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think he took my point. I wasn't going to sort of, wasn't, we met him a few times. He was always a nice guy, but it was just like certainly didn't back us as much as you did some of the darlings. But that's the way it goes. We were lucky Mark was there.